Your stuff is not safe at the airport. Thieves know exactly when and where you're most vulnerable, and they're not always who you'd expect. Here are the 9 moments in the airport where thieves like to pounce and how you can protect yourself. Let's start with the obvious and move to the not so obvious. Think about the last time you were in airport security. You're juggling multiple bins, trying to take off your shoes, belt, and jacket while also digging through your bags for laptops and liquids, all while the person behind you is breathing down your neck. It's the perfect storm for theft, and thieves often work in pairs. While one person purposely holds up the line by maybe forgetting to take their laptop out of their bag or accidentally setting off the metal detectors over and over, their partner is casually pocketing the items of the travelers who are waiting to go through the scanner and are separated from their bins. That's why I always recommend waiting to push your bins through until you're first in line and you're clear to pass through the scanner. And if you're like me and you know that you're going to need to get a pat down because you have a medical device or something, then if you have one, send your travel partner through the scanners first so they can guard your stuff while you're getting pulled aside. But it gets even worse because sometimes the thieves are the very people that are meant to protect you. Just look at what happened at the Miami International Airport, where 2 different TSA officers were working together to steal items from passengers who put their stuff in the bins. And this isn't just TSA either. This stuff happens all over the world in airport security. Like in the Philippines, where a female officer was caught on camera trying to shove something down her throat and wash it down with water. She allegedly stole $300 in cash from a Chinese passenger, but she claimed she was just eating a chocolate. All this will make you think twice about leaving your valuables out loosey-goosey in the bins, and it will also make you think twice about not washing your hands after you touch cash. I've also watched travelers put their watches and jewelry and wallets all together in a clear or Ziploc bag when they pass through TSA security, but this is a horrible idea. You're basically gift wrapping your valuables for thieves, showing all your good stuff in a nice, neat, grabbable package. I like to always keep my valuables in a fanny pack and then wrap that inside my jacket, or just put them on my interior pockets of my Scotty vest here. There's also certain times of day when you need to be more careful with this, and I'll get to that in a second. But first, airport security isn't the only place where craziness creates opportunities for thieves. For example, when gate changes are announced, it usually gets pretty chaotic. Travelers start sprinting across the terminal, dragging their roller bags, clutching coffee cups, and staring at their phones while they try to navigate airport signs. People are so focused on not missing their flights that they forget to pay attention to their surroundings and store their valuables properly. Distracted travelers make easy targets. But while some thieves like to take advantage of the chaos, others like to lurk in the quieter areas of the airport, like the empty gates at the end of terminals or quiet areas where exhausted solo travelers are trying to catch up on sleep during their layover. If you've ever had to spend the night at the airport, which I don't wish on my worst enemy, then you know that it can make you feel a little bit vulnerable. I always try to find other people who are also resting and set up camp near them. I feel like I'm less likely to be a target if there's a bunch of witnesses around, even if they're sleeping. That said, I always like to thread my bag strap around my arms or legs while I'm sleeping, or you can even use a carabiner to clip your bag to a belt loop or the chair that you're sitting in. But even if you survive the night, you're still not out of the woods. Those cheap 6 a.m. flights that seemed like a good idea when booking are prime time for thieves to strike. Not only are you likely to be super groggy and not very alert, but the airport staff are also likely changing shifts, which means they're more distracted and there's less witnesses around. Just remember that the more tired you are when you're traveling, the more careful you need to be with your things. It sounds obvious, but it can be easy to forget when your eyelids start getting heavy. This actually applies to the airport as well as the flight itself. I found reports of thieves using creative new strategies to rob their fellow passengers while on board, but before we get to those, let's finish up what they look for at the airport before your flight. So if you've ever traveled solo, you know that there's some unique challenges in airports. The most obvious one is the bathroom dilemma because you don't have anyone to watch your stuff. So depending on your layovers and how much stuff you have, this is one of the situations where checking your bag might have an advantage over traveling carry-on only. This is especially true if you're traveling with a carry-on backpack on your back and a personal item backpack on your front like I usually do. I'd be lying if I said I never accidentally peed all over myself in the airport urinals while trying to balance 2 different bags on my back. So if you're traveling solo and have a bunch of stuff, Checking your bags means you have less things to look after and have lower chances of peeing your pants. That said, check bags open yourself up to other types of theft, which I show you how to prevent in this video. Another thing you want to avoid as a solo traveler is looking lost or confused, because this immediately marks you as a target. Because when you look like you need help, it's the perfect opportunity for a pickpocket to approach you. Some pickpocketers will actually take it to the next level and dress up in uniform to appear more trustworthy. Several people have commented on my other videos sharing how stuff like this has happened to them in airports, in train stations, and other touristic areas. I found that you're much less likely to be bothered if you just always look like you know where you're going and what you're doing, even if you don't. And if you really do need help, then just look for an actual help desk or sit down for a second to look up whatever you need to look up. Because when you're standing there in the middle of the walkway looking confused, you're an easy target. If you're finding this video helpful so far, please tap the like button and subscribe for more tips on how to travel smarter. Speaking of easy targets, here in Colombia they have a saying, no dar papaya, which means don't give papaya or don't be an easy target. And let me tell you, I see people giving papaya in airports all the time. One common mistake is walking around with your passport or other valuables in your hand. I had a friend who was walking around the airport once when a frazzled lady came up to her asking where the bathroom was. And trying to be a good person, my friend turned around to help the lady look for bathroom signs. But in that split second, the frazzled lady's accomplice walked by and snatched my friend's passport wallet, which she had mindlessly set down to help the lady. And when she realized that her wallet and passport were missing, it was too late. This is just one of many reasons why I always recommend having a home pocket for your passport and your other travel docs instead of carrying things around in your hand. But whatever you do, make sure that home pocket is actually secure. I remember one time I was sitting at my gate watching this poor dad struggling to try to control his little toddlers who were crawling all over the floor. And when he bent down to pick them up, I saw that he had 4 passports practically falling out of his loosey-goosey back pocket. He might as well have been holding up a sign saying, hey, come steal these passports, please. Another place thieves like to lurk is at those airport charging stations. The problem is many airports have the plugs set up in weird, awkward spots where you can't monitor your device while you're sitting down. Sometimes they're tucked away in corners, separated from the seating area, or other times they're in the seating area, but they're positioned behind pillars where you can't see them, or the outlets are facing in the opposite direction of where the chairs are facing. I've seen stations where you literally have to choose between sitting with your back to your charging phone or standing awkwardly in the middle of the aisle to keep an eye on it. And to make matters worse, many travelers let their guard down after passing through security, assuming that they're now in the safe zone. I've even made this mistake myself. I once left my brand new iPhone out charging on a table in the lounge and walked halfway across the terminal before realizing I had left it behind. I sprinted back trying not to panic, and thankfully nobody took it, but it was definitely a wake-up call to be more careful. Nowadays, I always just use my power bank to prevent things like this from happening, which also protects me from the juice jacking scam, which I explain in this airport scams video. Speaking of which, if you want a full list of the sneakiest travel scams and how to avoid them, I made a free cheat sheet you can download in the description. Okay, so let's say you've successfully made it on the plane with all of your valuables. Mission accomplished, right? Wrong, not so fast. If you check the news, you'll quickly see that in-flight thefts are on the rise. Just last month, a passenger on a flight to Singapore caught someone tampering with her carry-on bags in the overhead bins, and when she checked her belongings, she realized she had $885 in cash missing. You'd think that incidents like these would be rare because a thief would actually need to buy a ticket and then actually travel to have the opportunity to steal stuff, but that's exactly what they're doing. Aviation experts have identified organized crime groups who are targeting certain high-value routes, especially flights to luxury destinations like Dubai and routes between Hong Kong, mainland China, and Bangkok. These thieves work in teams spread across different cabins, passing the stolen items to each other. There's even reports of them hiding stolen items in the bathrooms, behind mirrors, and in trash cans, where their ground crew accomplices can retrieve them after landing. To protect yourself, always keep your valuables in a bag underneath the seat in front of you, or better yet, attach it to yourself with a fanny pack or clothes that have zipper pockets. Don't wait until the last second to board, because if the overhead bin space fills up near your seat, then you'll have to put your luggage somewhere else that's far from you where it's harder to monitor. And if you are using the overhead bins, rotate your bags so that the zippers are pointing inward towards the walls, so that someone would have to take out your entire bag if they wanted to open the zippers. This is especially important if you're on long haul flights where everyone's going to be sleeping. Next up is the baggage claim area, which is like a thieves paradise. Airlines always give you those little luggage tickets when you check your bags, but out of the hundreds of flights that I've taken, there's only been one time where someone actually verified that I was the owner of the bag when I was picking it up from the baggage claim. So basically, it's a free-for-all. In San Antonio Airport, for example, security footage caught multiple different thieves casually walking off with other people's checked bags that they just pick up from the luggage carousel. These don't even look like sophisticated criminals. They just walked in, grabbed the bags, and left. One of the victims managed to identify her suitcase getting stolen on the security cameras because she had attached a bright yellow shower loofah to the outside of her bag. So more of the story is, when it comes to baggage claim, speed matters. The longer that your bag sits out on the carousel, the more opportunity thieves have to grab it. So don't stop for bathroom breaks, don't stop to eat a snack, don't stop to make a phone call. Get your bags first and then handle everything else. It also can help to make your bag stand out by attaching colored tape or stickers or ribbons or luggage covers, but this didn't seem to work for Loofah Lady. It's also not a bad idea to throw in one of those air tags or tile trackers in your bags in case it gets lost or stolen. Tile trackers are nice because they have an anti-theft mode which prevents thieves from finding the tracker and just throwing it away. Better yet, just stick to carry-on only travel if it won't make your trip too uncomfortable. That way you never have to separate yourself from your stuff. And if you don't think you can fit everything into a carry-on, watch my cheap carry-on packing hacks video next. Okay, so just when you think you're in the clear with your bags, there's just one final danger zone, and that is the parking lot. Airport parking lots have become a gold mine for organized thieves and crime groups, especially during peak travel season. In 2024 alone, thieves stole over 300 cars from Atlanta's airport parking areas and over 200 cars in Denver's airports. The thieves often target luxury cars, and they know exactly what they're looking for. Long-term parking areas where your car might sit unattended for days or weeks, especially during holiday seasons where lots are packed with travelers. So if you're parking at or near the airport, make sure to remove all valuables from your car and choose your parking spot wisely. Ideally in a well-lit, visible area with 24-hour surveillance. But what about when you actually get to your destination and you're on your trip? Pickpocketing is out of control in popular tourist areas, and your hotel isn't as secure as you think, especially the safe. To learn tricks to outsmart thieves when you're actually in your destination traveling, watch this video next. You may be making yourself an easy target without even realizing it, and in this video I show you exactly how you can protect yourself. Alright guys, like, subscribe, do the things. Love you. Bye bye.